Hey guys. So, I was just thinking, right? A lot of us men, right? We have this wrong, I guess, this wrong understanding, right? Like this wrong interpretation of women, right? In the sense that, we look at women nowadays as if, they're perfect beings, right? As if or they should be perfect, right? We look at them as if, they should be above the level of humanness, right? As if they should be at a level of, where we start treating them as if they're at the level of angels, right? As if they're a level of, like I said, perfection, right? Um, yeah, like, as men, we have a responsibility, right? Of treating women with respect and honor, honoring them, respecting them, and treating them right, right? But at the same time, you know, when they fall, right, when they make a mistake, we cannot beat them. We can't beat them for that, right? Like we cannot cancel them because of one mistake, right? Um, because, at the end of the day, right, the society in which we live in, right, the environment that which we live in, is not making it easy on anyone, right? Is not making it easy on anyone, right? And so we have to understand that, right? As men, when we look at ourselves, right, we have to see that. We have to look at ourselves and say, like, we have to judge ourselves, right? And always, look within ourselves, right? To say that, we're not perfect, right? Like everything that we do, right, is not perfect, right? And so, and at the same time, when women look at us, right, they look at us with the eyes of, they look at us in a good light, right? Like, yeah, you have some women out there that, they might look at men to be evil people, right? But generally speaking, women, there's a lot of women, right, that look at men as good people, right? Irregardless, right, of their, irregardless of what they're doing, right? Like, how many situations do we know where, you know, a guy, right, he had a past of, he had like one of the worst past, right? Um, you know, yeah, he had one of the worst past, and now when he changed his life, right, he found someone, right? Someone that accepts him for him, right? And so I'm not saying here, because I know there's guys out there that are probably thinking that, you know, you should find the worst of women, right? Or the worst of someone, and try to see the good in them. I'm not saying that, right? But what I am saying is that, we should be more understanding in the sense that, society is affecting everyone, right? And it's not just one specific gender, right? It's affecting everyone. And so, sometimes we look at, like I said, we look at women, right? And we think, like, we hold them to a level of almost like, we start looking at them as if they're angels, right? And it's like, yeah, it's like, at the end of the day, they're still humans, right? Like, at the end of the day, there's still, and I'm not saying that, you know, all women are, are doing the worst of things. I'm not saying that, right? I also don't want you guys to take what I'm saying to say that, all women are like men, right? Because I think it's safe to say that most all right, let me not get into that. Let me not get into that. But yeah, the point I'm making is that, we shouldn't look at women, you know yeah, like, we should hold them to a respectful level, right? And yeah, they should also hold themselves to a respectful level, right? But at the same time, we have to understand that, they're also humans, right? You know, they're also prone to making mistakes, right? And as men, we also have to make it easy on the women, right? You know, a lot of times we look at women, right, and we say, you know, we look at some woman and we're like, oh, you know, she's for the streets, right? Or we look at a certain woman and we're like, oh, you see, she's not wifey material, right? But if you look at it, like, who made that girl like that, right? Like, who made her that way, right? Like, it was, at the end of the day, it was a man, right? And so, you know, at the end of the day, as men, we also have a level of responsibility, right? To not make it harder upon the women, right? To make it easy upon them, right? And it starts with, you know, the family, right? You know, the family have to make it easy upon their daughters, their sisters, right? You know, they have to be in an environment that is nourishing, right? That's spiritually nourishing, and so that, you know, that woman will be able to thrive, right? Because if society is working against her, and her own home is working against her, like, how do we expect that woman, right, to, you know, to not, you know, yeah, to not, like, how can we expect her to still remain firm, right? Like, yeah, you know, yeah, like, she, at the end of the day, she still has responsibility to not let her environment affect her, right? But at the same time, you know, these things are influences, right? These, your family environment, the outside environment does influence your behavior, right? You know, it does make it harder for you to practice your religion, right? You know, a lot of times, you know, we look at women today and we're like, you know, these women, they don't wear hijab, right? You know, they're not, you know, yeah, they don't wear hijab. And so, you know, we treat them as if they're the worst of the worst, right? Like, we look at them as if they're the worst of the worst, right? And so we don't even realize that, you know, the environment and the society is working against her, right? And so as men, like I said, you know, that's, you know, to that same person, we should try to make it easy on them, right? By encouraging them, right? Encouraging them, empowering them, you know, trying to help society, right? Like, as a man right now, right? Like, if you look at yourself, like, what are you doing in terms of helping society, right? Like, what are you doing in terms of, because, like, right now you're looking at women, right? And you're almost judging them, right? You're judging them to say that, you know, oh, this person is this person is that, right? And you're holding yourself to a high level, right? Like, a high regard. But, like, what are you doing in terms of, you know, making the society a better place for everyone, right? Because if you look at yourself, right, as a man, the environment is also affecting you, right? Like, the environment that you're in right now and the society you're living in is affecting you, right? Like, ask yourself, do you pray, right? Like, when was the last time you prayed, right? Like, you're looking at someone who's not wearing hijab, right? And you're saying that, you know, this person is the worst of the worst because they're not wearing hijab, right? They're not obeying God in one aspect, right? But you're not obeying God in a different aspect. So what is the difference, right? Like, who are you to now hold yourself to a high regard, right? Because you're not obeying God too, right? And so I'm not saying all of this to say that, you know, I'm not saying all of this to say, I'm not giving anyone an excuse, right? I'm not giving the woman who's not wearing hijab an excuse to say, you know, yeah, my environment is affecting me, so I'm not going to wear the hijab, right? I'm not saying that. You know, you also have a level of accountability, right? You have a level of responsibility to try your best to obey God, right? And so, you know, yeah, you have a level of accountability, right? And you can't use your environment as an excuse, you know. But I'm telling the men out there, right, that are watching this, to, you know, don't fall into the hands of the devil, right? In the sense that, you know, don't let the devil make you believe that all women are bad people, right? Because sometimes, you know, society can condition you to think like that, right? Like society right now, right? They're portraying women in a certain image, right? Like they're portraying, you know, certain women in a certain light, right? And so, you know, you might look at that, right? And you might look at that behavior of those type of women, right? And now you might equate that to the women who's not wearing hijab, right? And you might say, you know, they're all the same, right? Yeah, you might say like, oh, you know, they're all the same. They're all, you know, corrupted, or they're all this, they're all that, right? And so, you know, again, you have to be careful you don't fall into this trap, right? You know, you got to be careful you don't fall into this, you know. Like I said, you know, I'm not giving anyone an excuse, right? And as a man, yeah, like, yeah, you know, you should expect more from everyone. Like we all should expect more from each other, right? But understand that the environment and the society is making it hard upon everyone, right? Upon yourself that's watching this, right? And so the least you can do, right, is to start with being more understanding, right? And work to making the society a better place for everyone, right? Like do your part in terms of, you know, trying to encourage other people, right? Do your part in terms of empowering other people, right? Do your part in terms of, you know, encouraging people, right? You know, let people know that, you know, there's a merciful God, right? We tend to focus a lot on the punishment of God, right? But we don't focus on the mercy of God, right? The part where, you know, God is merciful, right? The part where, you know, God, you know, if you repent to him, he's gonna forgive you for your sins, right? You're not, you know, just because you make one mistake, you know, to God's eyes, you're not an evil person, right? You're just a person who sins, right? You're not an evil person, right? And sometimes as humans, right, we might make the mistake of looking at other people's sins or other people's mistakes, and we might label the whole person to be evil, right? Like we might look at the whole person to be a bad person, you know, they're just a bad person, right? And so, you know, you have to also, you know, acquire the quality of your prophet, right? Your prophet was a person of mercy, right? You know, he was sent as a mercy, right? And so, you know, you have to be more merciful when it comes to just the creation, right? You have to be more understanding, right? Try to empower one another, right? Because to be honest, right, everyone is good, right? Like everyone was created to be good. Like everyone from birth, everyone was created with a natural disposition to be good, right? But then it's society that sways people, right? It's society that makes or that influences people to make bad decisions, right? Bad actions, right? So now it's not that the person itself is bad, but their actions is bad, right? Like the things that they're being influenced towards is bad, right? And so, you know, yeah, it's not the person itself that's bad, right? It's not the individual that's bad, right? But it's their actions, right? And so, you know, yeah, it's their actions that's bad, right? So we have to be able to differentiate. We have to be able to differentiate that, right? You know, the difference between, you know, the person itself and their actions, right? And I'm not saying that, you know, and I'm not saying all of this to say that, you know, we should think, you know, let's say in the case of, you know, finding a spouse, right? I'm not saying that, you know, we should get the worst of the people, right? Like, I'm not saying that we should get the worst of a people and try to be more understanding and think that they will get to a level that we want them to, right? I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not saying that, right? I'm just saying when it comes to looking at people, right, to look at them through the eyes of mercy, right? Through the eyes of mercy, right? You know, When it comes to you actually being with a person, now, I'm not gonna tell you that you should use understanding, or you should use, you know, thinking of the best, right? Like sometimes when it comes to choosing a spouse, right, you have to take a person for who they are, right, or what they're showing you, right, and that's who you should accept them for, right? If that's something you're willing to accept, then you have to accept that, right? You can't look at that person and think that they'll get to a level that you want them to, right? Like you can't change a person, right? But you can change. We can change the system, right? We can make our environments and our society a better place, so that everyone would be going towards good actions, right? Like everyone would go towards good actions, right? Because their environment has made it easier upon them, right? And so as men, where we can start today, right? Where we can start, to do this, right, is to start with your own community, right? Start with your own community. Like reach out to your community, reach out to your society, reach out in any way possible to be able to make the society a better place, right? Because if the society is a better place and the environment is a better place, and a lot of people are striving towards good, then the person would also be easier they would find it easier to go towards good, right? Because the environment has made it easy upon them, right? And also, I'm not saying that people should continue to go in the direction of their environment, right? I'm not saying that, because you also have a level of accountability, right? As much as society is bad, right? As much as society is today, like we could say today we live in a corrupt society, right? As much as we live in a corrupt society, that doesn't automatically justify your actions, right? Yes, society is influencing your behavior, but you have control of whether you want to go in that direction, right? Like the only thing the devil can do is just whisper to you, right? The only thing the devil can do is just whisper or make certain things attractive, right? But now it's up to you to take that, right? Now it's up to you to fall into the traps of the devil, right? Is your choice, right? Like no one is telling you you're forced, right? No one's telling you society's making you do these things, right? No, society's not making you do it. You have choice to do it, right? The only thing society is doing is they're influencing you, right? The influences are there, right? The evil and the good is there. Now it's up to you to decide which direction you want to go, right? You can choose the evil, the bad things, or you can choose the good things, right? And so yeah, I just wanted to kind of serve this as a reminder for the men right out there, especially to yeah, like I said, not look at women, to not expect perfection, right? To not think that yeah, to not hold women to a level of perfection, right? Because reality is, right, the devil is there, and he's influencing everyone, right? The devil is there, he's influencing everyone, right? Right now, like as a man, you might not be praying, right? The devil is influencing you, right? He's influencing you to not pray, right? He's making you lazy, right? And so and there could be another woman, right? There could be a woman on the other hand where the same is with her, right? The devil is influencing her to not pray, right? And so you and the woman, everyone is in the same situation, right? Everyone's in the same predicament, right? And yeah, like I said, we should try to be more understanding. Like I said, people are naturally good, right? But is certain things, certain mistakes, or certain actions that they might do that's bad, right? But it doesn't mean that the person is bad, right? If you take that same person and you put them in a different environment, right? An environment that is more nourishing, right? That person might be more likely to go towards good, right? And I'm not saying that, like I said, in the case of choosing a spouse, I'm not saying that, we should choose someone that's doing bad and hope that if we change their environment that they'll turn out good. I'm not saying that, right? Because like how many cases we know where, that's happened, right? Where a person went from a bad environment to a good environment, but they ended up still going bad, right? Or they end up going back to their old environment, right? Yeah, it's a reality, right? That happens. And so, we should just try to, just to end this video, we should just try to be more understanding towards each other, and yeah, we should all want good for each other, right? Not just for ourselves, for other people, right? For our spouse, right? For our future spouses, for our future children, right? We should all want good for each other, right? And so it starts with, being more understanding, helping other people, like encouraging people, right? Doing more good work in your environments, in your community, right? On social media, spreading good, positive messages, right? So that when someone does come across it, that influences them or that inspires them to want to better their life, right? Right now, they might not be praying, right? They might not be wearing the hijab, but if they come across more encouraging stuff, right? If they come across other sisters wearing the hijab or other sisters, encouraging, other sisters, right? Now we're gonna see more sisters wearing the hijab, right? And even if they come across brothers, making, like, brothers encouraging the sisters, right? From afar, right? Now it's like that same sister would be encouraged to wear the hijab, right? A lot of you see it nowadays. A lot of women, they tend to do things as a result of men, right? Or as a result of, I'm not saying all women, but some women, right? They tend to do things as a result of men, right? Or what society says that men like, right? So for example, you might see brothers out there, they're Muslim brothers, right? And they're on Instagram liking naked pictures of women, right? And now Muslim woman who was, she was very good, right? Like she came from a good family, she was doing good. Now she sees how society is, right? She sees these brothers liking these naked women, and now that, the shaitan might influence her and tell her like, hey, these are what men like, this is what men are into, right? And that same woman that was doing good, now, or that same woman that was wearing the hijab, now she ended up not wearing the hijab, right? As a result of society, right? As a result of men, as a result of these things, right? So as men, we have a responsibility, right? To not make it harder upon the women, right? To practice their deen, right? Like, we have a responsibility. We're supposed to be the leaders of society, right? As men, we're supposed to be the ones, that are doing good work, right? Like, that are doing a lot of giving back to their society, to their community, right? Trying to, better their community, right? And so that the women, right, could find it easier, right, to wear the hijab, right? To do good, right? And yeah, like I said, right, as men, we have a level of responsibility, right? We have to, like I said, not make it harder upon the women, right? A lot of the women that we're judging, right, it's is a result of, things around her, right? It's the result of, sort of our lack of leadership, right? As men, right? And so, we should take that to say that, you know, yeah, like we should take that, say, you know, we have to start with ourselves, right? We have to better ourselves, you know, better society, right? Um, you know, and yeah, and better our society if we want to see better changes, right? You know, or if we're in this situation right that we're in right now, um, you know, don't fall into the traps of the devil, right? Into the traps of society, you know, that makes you think that women are all bad, right? That women are all, you know, corrupted or you know, this, because this is not the case, right? Not all women are bad, right? There are good, righteous women out there, right? And not just righteous, there are a lot of good-hearted women, right? Like a lot of women that are good people, right? Again, it might just be, you know, men or their society that's influencing them, you know, to go towards certain things, right? But you know, deep down, they're good people, right? So yeah, we should be more understanding, you know, towards people, and try to encourage people, you know, because, you know, even when we look at having a daughter one day, right? You know, like at the end of the day, right? Your daughter might just be influenced, right? You know, because of the society, right? Because of the lack of leadership amongst men. You know, there might be, you know, other guys giving your own daughter false hopes, right? And false hopes, because a lot of girls nowadays, right? You know, or I say some girls, right? They come across a guy, and you know, he gives her false hopes, right? He gives her this idea that, you know, he's here to protect her, to marry her and treat her right, and then, right, is a result of these men that are giving false hopes, right, to these women. And so, you know, we have to be more understanding, right? And like I said, you know, nobody can we shouldn't use society and other people as an excuse to justify our behavior or our actions. You know, we shouldn't use that as an excuse, you know, because we also have a level of accountability, right? A level of responsibility to, you know, yeah, we have a level of accountability, right? So, you know, we have to do our best as well to, you know, to try to do better, right? To do good. And yeah, you know, so yeah, I would just leave it with that, right? Just, you know, we should all help one another, right? Neither of us can sit here and say that we're perfect. You know, neither of us can sit here and say that we're free of making mistakes, right? And we shouldn't hold other people to a level of perfection, right? Of a level that we don't hold ourselves, right? Like, we don't hold ourselves to a level of what we hold ourselves to, right? You know, we're making mistakes, right? And so, you know, and we should know that other people would make mistakes too, right? You know, it just might be, you know, in different ways, right? So, like, another person might have struggles with praying, right? You know, you might have struggles in other ways, right? And so, yeah, like I said, you know, try to encourage one another, and try to do more good works, right? So that other people could, you know, benefit from your work, right? And yeah, I'll leave it at that, guys. Take care.